All right, well, let's kick this thing off. So, welcome everybody to Mastering Luxury with Sandra and our amazing special guest, Roni Haskell, today. Thank you so much for being here, Roni.
Thank
Before
you.
we jump into your background and everything, I want to just do a couple of quick housekeeping things. One is I wanted to let everybody know that this has now turned into a podcast as well. So if you want to see more than just once a month, we actually will be putting the podcast out twice a month. So there's going to be episodes that you won't see in the live format, but you'll be able to catch that on Apple and on Spotify and on YouTube. So if you just search Mastering Luxury with Sandra, and you should find it. Exciting to put that out. Love to get your feedback and some 5-star reviews on those. Give it a little momentum. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And also next week we are doing a live Mastering Luxury with Sandra at the Viceroy in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. So anybody who's local or maybe you're visiting Florida, we'd love to have you. We've got some amazing speakers, including the incredible Ken Pozak and Ryan Jabor, who I shared a stage at Mega Camp with Ryan. So two really great luxury agents and running some good teams. So let's jump into Roni now. Roni, thank you so much. I always like to talk about why I chose the people that I chose. And I don't know if you remember where we met. I think we were was it Arizona?
I think so.
It was at a luxury
Been
event.
busy.
And I
Mhm.
remember I didn't know anybody. It was one of my first luxury events, like out of state. And you were so kind and like you just exuded luxury to me, but at the same time, you were just so approachable and very kind. And that's the word I want to keep saying, kind, because you were just super sweet. And again, I didn't know anybody, so it was really nice to have a friendly face and somebody that was just immediately connected with. And so I thought we need to have you on here because you are truly, I mean, you just exude luxury and you're just a super generous, kind person. So thank you for being here.
Well, that was a very nice way to introduce me, Sandra, because I came to you. I remember exactly where we were when we met. And I already thought the world of you because I had been watching these episodes that you had been putting out before our meeting, I do believe. But so you've made a name for yourself. So when I came to you, I felt like I was coming to meet the mayor of the town. But yeah, no, thank you for that kind introduction.
There's
Luxury should be have a level of grace to it, right? So gracefulness.
Well, you definitely have the most grace. Absolutely. So, Ronnie, tell us, let's start with your background. How did you get into real estate? What is your story?
Oh boy. Well, we kind of have to go back to back in 2002. I was already living in Charleston. I was working into the design sector. That's my degree is in interior design. And so I moved to Charleston, but 9/11 put all my projects on hold and I was getting antsy. A couple of people in my family friends had been in real estate. One was in commercial real estate, one was in residential. So I knew a little bit about it. And at the time, I thought it was the craziest thing that these people worked on the weekends. And so that, I just remember my whole childhood thinking that some of our closest family friends worked on the weekends. And I just thought it was nuts. So I came from a very humble family unit, and dad was an engineer, mom's a school teacher. But when I came into Charleston working in the design sector, my projects got put on hold, and I quickly decided to get my real estate license. Not sure exactly what I was going to do with it, but I was in commercial design, so I thought, well, I'll probably go into commercial real estate. In the midst of me getting that license, a door opened for me. I met somebody that had also been in design work who had segued into real estate, but she was working for a builder. And that conversation that lasted, I don't know, probably about 2 hours at a dinner table, um, really piqued my interest. And over the 4 months of an interview process, I finally landed myself into into real estate. So at a young age I had just turned 22 when I came into
Wow.
real estate. But I was working for a builder. So for almost 8 years, I was working for a builder as an on-site agent, and it was a vastly different business than where we sit today with in general brokerage, but also even as a new home agent back then, it was much different because
Mhm.
I didn't have a competing agent in my community. It was largely Charleston's always been a very active, attractive market for people moving in. So I will say that it was an easy sales role, but the culture, the community, and all with the builder team, it was just a great fit. I always felt like I had the perfect scenario. And so, but I had a mentor there who invested in me at a deep level and taught me financing, taught me construction methods. It wasn't just write sales contracts. And again, back in the day, we didn't have DocuSign. Everything was handwritten. They wanted the design. I had all the materials in my office, and so we were designing, building everything out right there in my sales center. And but that downturn in the market happened. I went into general brokerage, and here I sit today. Of course, my team, my business has transpired during these years. But in 2009, really 2000, probably at the end of 2008, I segued over into general brokerage.
Okay. All right. What a journey.
Yeah, it has been. It's been 24 years I've been in this business.
Wow. And you're still smiling and you're still liking it, seems like.
Yeah, and I feel because I started so young, I got another 24 years, Sandra. I'm in it. We'll
Wow.
see. So I do love it. And that's what makes the real difference, I do believe.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a big difference. When you like what you do and you're happy to go to work every day, it's a big difference than dragging yourself to something you don't love.
Sure. Well, and a lot of it's about the people you work with as well. And I was very blessed when I was working for the builder team. Um, we still stay in contact with one another after all of these years. We were in a very fortunate situation where it was a lengthy interview process, but they really built culture um, that within the builder. And so this is, I've built a strong culture and community within my team as well. So I went almost 12 years being an individual agent, a solo agent. And then I started a team, and it has been instrumental with the success that I've had. I used to think that I could do everything by myself and nobody could do it better than me. I've come a long way from that mentality, let's say.
I think a lot of us high Ds feel like that, right? Like, well, if we don't do it, it's not going to be done right. And it's letting
Correct.
go is a challenge, right?
It was for me. And my first hire, Um, I would give her a task, and then literally I would be standing over her shoulder giving instructions. She would call me out on it. She's like, Roni, do you really want to take this? Do you really want to be doing this? And I said, you know what? I don't. And so she would she would call me out on it and make me aware of what I was doing, and then it gave me permission to walk away from that, instance. And so she's still with me today. I will say she is my top lead agent, and we still have that banter back and forth. But that is one thing that I have surrounded myself with people who are their strengths are different than mine,
Yeah.
and it has really leveraged me in a way that I never saw coming, quite frankly.
And leading a team is not for everybody. I think it takes a specific personality that can do it and do it well. And I think that you have to be willing to learn and grow, right? You're not born necessarily as a leader. It's something that evolves over time and we get better and better at it, hopefully, right? Um, so it's something that you worked at to get there.
Well, I will speak to that because yes, I mean, I was a top solo agent in my office for a long time. And I I was in some ways, I was very disorganized, but I was running my business really as a glorified hobby. And not that all solo agents do that. I was just running, I was raising three young children at the time, and I was transacting real estate, but I didn't understand what I was really doing was building a business. I just knew from coming from builder that the schedule of general brokerage suited me better. And two, no, you know, nobody was coming into my model home, at the conclusion of that time span there. And so general brokerage gave me a place where I could operate in a field that I was still passionate about. And it was a level of service back, to the client. And I knew I knew minimally what I was doing. I mean, I learned a lot in that time span of learning the business of general brokerage. However, I was transacting between 30 in those solo days. I was closing between 30 and 50 units a year, and I had no leverage at all. And I was really swamped. And so it came out of a need of hiring somebody who was unlicensed to help with some of the back system kind of stuff. I had
Mhm.
just hit my threshold. She was so talented that I immediately recognized she needed to get licensed to serve me in a different capacity. And then I brought on a client concierge. And then that built more business because then I was touching my people more and I was loving on them more. And so then I needed another agent to help with that additional lead flow. But even when I was a solo agent, it was I'd never really did a lot of marketing, more than maybe putting an ad into a local magazine or Homes and Land, if you remember. Let's go back a
Yeah.
ways here. Homes and Land ad, that kind of thing. But it was very minimally just to have some exposure around my name. It wasn't a real lead gen. But the more my brand got out there and the more transactions I did, more signs I had in the yard, the more business I started bringing in. And that's what I had to start building out a team to be able to
Mhm.
withstand the inflow of leads and at the high level of service that I wanted to be able to offer.
Well, it's a good problem to have, right?
It's been a great problem to have. It's been interesting, Sandra, with each point, the higher I serve the client, the more communication I have, it keeps building. And I've built a business where I have lead flow in, and I'm very grateful for that. And I know that there's a lot of agents that really have to do a lot of outbound calls, and I recognize the hard work that that takes. And we can talk more about my business and kind of how I make my phone ring versus me having
Yeah.
to call out. But each one of my growths in business has the pain points has been I have more lead flow. My phone rings more than I have the bandwidth to be able to serve at the
hmm
high level that I want to. And so I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah, that's the best problem to have, and that's one of the things that I really admire about you. I am also of the same mindset. I'd rather have my phone ring than me be reaching out, reaching out. Obviously, we have to do the follow up. The money
Oh,
is in the follow up, but that initial call, it's so much better to have it coming in than for us chasing it down. So
oh
let's just
yeah.
dive into that because that's definitely what I'm sure everybody on here wants to hear about that. Like, what is it that you're doing that's making your phone ring so that you're not having to be pounding the pavement finding those people?
Well, it started off really with building a sense of community. Again, kind of as I segued into this general brokerage, I was having young children. I was finding myself in whether it was the preschool or the playground or the PTA, like I was building community because I came from a family of women who served. And so I had that servant's heart. And remember the box tops, you would clip the box tops
Yes,
and take them, you would count them out into groups of 100, put them in Ziploc bags. Well, my kids were old enough, not even to count, but they could sort, right? And so
right.
I would have them sorting. We would bag them and take them to the local elementary school. We could walk physically to the elementary school where we were living at the time and take them in. Well, I got to be friendly with the staff at the school. And so I mean, just literally building a community of service from the very beginning. Um, and that still segues into today. I mean, I am an instrument to the community in service in many different capacities. So I
Mhm.
serve as the chairman of the board of assessments for the county that I live in, and with a couple of different philanthropy groups, a big fundraiser and sponsor for different events for that. Um, for the school board, I am um, a, a volunteer and on a committee that is directly in contact to the superintendent. So just in different ways, I've gotten to be a part of this community, and because of that, and my giving, whenever you give, you usually receive. It's not the
Right?
reason that I give, but it certainly has fed my business and my
Sure.
name, and in essence, my brand because of that. So by being, I'm careful about how many boards I sit on. I don't sit on boards, and I will, and I, even though um, I'm a huge proponent, supporter for different political sectors. I have chosen not to put my name on any sign other than a for sale sign in this in this town. I'm like, you will not see my name on a political position. If I'm appointed to one, that's great, but I'm not running for an office. But yet I do fundraisers and I do things at my home, and I have, I introduce leaders in the community to other leaders in the community that I'm like, you should know each other, be a
Right.
connector. So
Right.
all of those connections and interactions within the community have really served my business over the years. And that's what feeds me today.
I love that. So you're really mixing your personal life with your work life, and it's feeding itself, and you're not having to come across as salesy because people, they know, like, and trust you, so they choose to work with you because they know you and what you stand for.
That is true. That is the case. And in most instances, people will call me. They already know my reputation, and that's really what you want. You want your reputation to precede you. Who's
Mhm.
talking about you in the rooms where you're not in a
Yeah.
positive way,
Yes.
hopefully always in a positive way. So that is, I've been very careful to present myself, my family, whether it's in person or on social media engagements. It's all about, I mean, as a realtor, do you really get to segment two different lifestyles? I don't think you do. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
not in my world at least. It is absolutely blended. How I act, at the town council meetings, or, in conversation, um, at the grocery store, just a casual conversation, all of this, or stopping into the coffee shop. I mean, all of this really plays back to who I am. And so they know that I know the business, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of realtors that know the business, quite frankly.
Right.
They can transact. Who's going to serve them in a way that they feel good about it, that
Mhm.
decision and that
Mhm.
investment at the end?
I love that. I love that. So how do you find time to do all these things? I mean, you're selling at a high level, you're running a high level team, and you're doing all of these charitable things. How do you find the time to fit all of that in?
Well, I laugh because I am pulled in a lot of different directions. I am very specific, and I've gotten to be very specific about saying no to certain things. If it does not, I'm very clear on what my pillars of business are. And if it is not going to be specific to those pillars of business, then I have to turn it away, and that's
Mhm.
with marketing, or, like seriously, like drilling down into like marketing efforts. Know your pillars of business, market and speak into those. And if it's not serving one of those, then you kind of have to just move away from it. It's a great idea, share it with somebody else that can build off of it, or maybe even a team agent, but you can't do it. So I have to tell myself that. um and then, yeah, I mean, just being very specific about who it is that I want to be in community with.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's a couple of charitable organizations that's where I continue to serve and give of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, it's where my children are or where they can also serve.
Right.
They got to have service hours as well. So if I host something at my house, even if it's a political event or a philanthropy-based event, they can build service hours off of that. So I get my kids engaged with that so that they are seeing how mom is interacting. And
Yep.
it's not, I don't do everything separate and apart from each other. A lot of times I do them all integrated into each other. So I'm with my family, but we're all serving, and
Right.
so that has helped over the years as well as we've as the kid as my children, my three daughters. I am a single. I've been a single mom. I got remarried last year, but I'm still single parenting. Let's say it that way. He's this huge help and a huge fan, but I'm single parenting, and so it does. It takes a lot of my time and energy. But if my
Yeah.
kids are going to be at a sporting event, I'm probably going to be sponsoring that event
Right.
and I'm going to be there on the sideline. I will not forfeit time with my children for the sake of business.
I love that. It sounds like you really do a really nice job of blending things together, keeping the priorities straight, very focused on what are the best things to be involved in, and incorporating your family. I think that's really nice. I think it's great. I know you have three beautiful daughters. And I think
Yep.
it's really important for them to see you as a strong mom, a strong leader, a strong business person. So I think you have given your children such a blessing with incorporating them into everything. Imagine how much that's affecting them as they go forward, graduate from high school, and start their next phase.
I hope so. I mean, that's my goal, whether they come into real estate or not, And so, for instance, my oldest daughter wanted a job during the school year, and so I partnered with one of the estate attorneys in town who sends me a good bit of business. And so I asked her if she wanted an intern for the school year. And so, you know, having Elizabeth be able to serve her and then she's feeding business back to me, like it's just a reciprocal kind of so yeah, it has been very blended and I don't know how I would do life any differently. I
Mhm.
don't think you have to. I think it's a joy to be able to go to community events that I've sponsored or I'm putting it on the event or whatnot, and just be able to naturally talk about business while you're there. That
Yeah.
that's that's how I've spent my years, and that's what's fed me where I am. Now, could I have done things differently? Built my team into this big empire, bigger than it is, and all of this. I probably could have, but again, my time was sacred with the people that I was spending it with
Mhm.
in those moments. And so, right now, I'm in a place where I don't have the time to give to the people, to some of my friends that I want to. And so I'm making some changes and I've
Okay.
got a client care team and I got a listing manager and an intern, like all these people that have just come into my world within the last 60 days because I was getting bogged down and I
Yeah.
wasn't able to spend the time with the people that I wanted to be with.
It sounds like you've got your priorities straight, and if you veer off a little bit, you're willing to, really take a look at it and redirect and change up the business to make it all work. Which is, a lot of us don't do that, right? A lot of us we go along just churning, 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 and then all of a sudden we're off the path, right? But it sounds like you do a really good job of kind of keeping the balance going.
It is. And there's going to be times when it gets off kilter in full transparency, but recognizing that and having conversations. I have been in coaching um, for the last 5 years. And because I wanted to learn specifically, I wanted somebody else to have a viewpoint of looking into my business and into my life and saying, here are some ways that we can change things to make it better. And
Hmm.
so that coaching, just having somebody else's perspective has been instrumental with my growth as a leader. You're talking about earlier, growing as a leader when we're leading a team.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I can transact real estate. I've gotten to be very good at that, several thousand transactions later, but it's being a good leader of self first and foremost, and then being a good leader of the team.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to have somebody else can see the challenges better than you can, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think it says a lot when you're willing to trust somebody to join your circle and point out some things you could do differently, right? So I think that's taken a great step in letting somebody else into your world.
Yes. Well, now, so let me talk about my team structure a little bit because I think there may be some questions around that. There are five of us licensed in the team today, and I'm pretty heavy. If you look at my organizational chart, if you were to look at that, you'd see that it's a pretty weighted on the support team side. And
Hmm.
it's because I do lead a team. The way that it's been since I originated this team, it's been all women, and mainly because it, ironically, we all have young children and kind of around the same ages. So with that, we understand what the needs and the demands are
Hmm.
amongst each other.
Right.
Um, but we're heavy on the support team because I can run anywhere from 30 to 50 transactions. So I closed myself a little over 50 transactions as a producer last year.
Wow, that's a
And
lot.
then my lead agent closed right at 20, I think she was about 25 closings. Um, Somewhere between 25 and 30. Sorry. My director of ops knows all of the numbers. But anyway, so we're closing a lot, but we're able to do it with the heavy admin team that I have. So I have two people that sit in the client care team, and they literally are just there to make sure that we're loving on our clients. One is phone calling every day, the database and the current clients, past clients, and making and running my DDD2. She handwrites notes, all the things that I want to do, and I just don't have time to
Hmm.
get it done. And so she loves on people. Somebody else is behind the computer, loving on people, social media, LinkedIn, making those, strong connections, making sure if they see anything, they have my VIP list. And so if they see anything in that VIP list, they're like, Ronnie, so and so's dog passed away, or, they've
Hmm.
been given instruction about things to bring to my attention so that I don't miss it. And then I can make that personal phone call, right, to the family. Whatever celebrations or the pros
Yeah,
and cons of life.
right,
So
right.
they bring it to my awareness to it so that I'm not missing those milestones in this person's life. Um,
Well,
and
that sounds like
then
a great system that you've got there. You've identified that you can't do it all, so you hired somebody that can help you with that and do a lot of it for you. But then the most important things get shifted back to you to make the call.
so that is correct. And that's how you make people feel. Like, I don't want to run into somebody in the grocery store and have missed this big milestone of
Mhm.
life, right? Like, I have to, but I'm also not on social media 24 hours a day. If
Right,
you're not,
right.
it's hard to stay in tune to it. So, yeah, it is. It's those hitting those milestones and just making people aware that I know what's going on in their lives to some capacity.
Mhm.
And then, and then we've got, uh, full-time transaction coordinator. Like I'm not qualified to touch paperwork anymore. Like honestly, it's they can
I
do, she can do it so much better than me. But with all of this team building over the last 9 years, you know what it's made me keenly aware of is that other people have a place that feeds their family off of the business that I have allowed them to step into my world and do. And they're so good at it.
love it.
And so it's just rewarding to me to watch my team unit now run at a pace that is supporting so many other families.
Right.
That's rewarding. And it brings me a lot of joy. And it gives me my why in the morning when I wake up and I'm weary because this business, when you're building these habits in the community and running 5 miles at 5 a.m. just to be able to get it in before anybody
Yep.
needs me on the phone for the day, you grow weary of it day in and day out. But
Absolutely.
knowing that I'm able to support their families is it makes those frustrating clients worthwhile. You know, it's just like, you know what, I'm going to push through. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get it closed. It feeds everybody, and we're going to move on to the next and put it behind
Right.
us. You know, it just makes those difficult ones, mm, I don't, just more rewarding, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And real estate can be very lonely as an individual agent. I know you can feel like an island, right? And when you're running a team, it's a different sense of accomplishment than it is just, I don't say just, I didn't mean just, but doing a transaction is one set of satisfaction, and running a team is a second set of satisfaction. And being able to influence the lives of those people, not just in the sales of properties, but how are they succeeding financially? Are you able to support them in different ventures, or what are they getting into that they've learned because they work for you or with you? So it's
Mhm.
a totally different set of feeding your soul, or at least for me it is, and it sounds like it is for you.
It is. I mean, just I had some really strong mentors when I came into business. Well, even back when I was 15, working for a designer, um, she was willing to invest in me. And then when I went off to Auburn University, I worked for a professor in the design field there, and she invested in me. She paved the path for me to come into Charleston, who I've had several mentors guide me and invest in me, and I still keep up with these people today. They've been instrumental. So why not? If you can only take in so much before you want to start sharing it. For
Yeah.
me, again, I've come from a family of servanthood, and I'm in a place now where I'm able to pour back into others and watch them sail, you know? And so I don't want to know that I want to work like I do now, or like I've been working for the last 10 years forever. Let's be honest. You
Right.
know, I want to grow, and I'm building this really firm foundation of business, both in transactions and in team. But at certain point, yeah, it's got to transition. And so by watching these other agents and my admin team just all it's a really firm foundation behind the scenes here. And they've been with me for a long time. Most of my teammates have. And so by knowing that I'm well supported, and if something happens to me, you know, or if I'm going out of town, say I just want to take a vacation, God
Right.
forbid, right?
Hmm.
Then I've got a really good um, team behind me to support that effort.
Right.
So I can,
Right.
can truly go.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
built something really special, and you should be proud of that for sure. Um, you've built a well-oiled machine that continues running even if you're taking a break.
It is, you know, the challenges of things though. I mean, just like there's so much conversation around AI today, you know,
Hmm.
as we never really get to perfect this business, because as soon as we feel like we're on the upswing and we've got a handle on it, the market changes or technology changes. Like it's a constant flow of newness that's
Yeah.
flowing through the real estate industry. Maybe that's how it is in all industries. I don't know. Again, I've been sitting in real estate for a long time, but I just know for here and now, like as literally as soon as we feel like we have a handle and a grasp on the newness, something's going to
Something else.
change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's a
a
constant growth.
regulation, or some kind of, there's so many things changing in our environments all the time, which I think is kind of, it makes it fun, but it also makes it, we're just constantly running, right? We're always trying to catch up to the next thing, like what else is new. So how do you do that? How do you stay on top of that?
It's a lot of trainings. It's a lot of conversations. It's much, you know, much of it is knowing that is not just happening in my backyard, but it's happening across the country. You know, masterminds and things like this is very
Hmm.
helpful in seeing what other people are doing, what they're experiencing, trying to stay on top of the trends. And um, but always coming back to your core values. And you know, there's some things that I may not adopt in AI. That there's some trends on TikTok that's probably not going to be for me. I'm never going to put makeup on in front of the camera. I'm going to have my face on before I present myself for the day. You know, there's just certain things that they may trend upward, but I'm going to be true to who I am, both in
Yeah.
business and just in my character and how I want to be presented to the
Hmm.
public. And so, yeah, I mean, just be authentic
Yeah.
and celebrate the wins. Take a moment to celebrate personal wins and victories and your teams. And after a long day, just kind of, come back to the why, the
Hmm.
why
Yeah.
behind it all. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's great advice. I love that, celebrate the wins for sure, because there are definitely a lot of challenges in our world, and it can get tiring, especially for, agents that are trying to build up. Celebrate the wins, no matter how small they are. I think that really helps us get through the day.
it does. It does. And finding other people that will lift you up. And I have that within my team. The culture of my team is big on that. My real estate coach is big on that. Every conversation starts with, good morning, rock star. And I'm like, well, I wasn't feeling like that before I got on the call, but now I can't help but to feel it because I'm hearing it. But find the people that are in your life that are willing to lift you up and to
Hmm.
support you. And I've been very blessed with being surrounded by other people they don't try to take me down. And I think that has, people talk a lot about, who are you surrounding yourself with? And I've got a dear friend of mine that says, find people that make you feel your best. Find people that make you feel your best. And so, um, I don't use relationships within friend groups or within the community just to serve my business. Like if it's not serving me, then I have to displace from it, at least
Right.
for a season, right? So just be very careful about what you're putting in.
Right.
But I listen to podcasts. I get on masterminds constantly. I'm always reaching for um, what the next best thing, be bettering myself. I guess that's the
Hmm.
best thing is just
Yeah.
bettering myself, my business, my mindset.
Yeah, I think being learning based really makes a big difference. And obviously, with a lot of the things I've seen you at, you're very learning based. And I think it also gives you energy. I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like the more I learn, the more energy I have, and the more I want to do more, and the more I want to learn more. It's like
Yeah,
it's the snowball effect, right? It just kind of keeps pushing you.
it most certainly will. It most certainly will. Just being re-energized by the people around you.
Yeah.
When
So
sometimes
let's,
sometimes we don't pull from our own strength. Sometimes we have to rely on the strength that others can
mm,
can feed into us. That's
yeah,
huge, big part of it.
I love that. So let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about social media, because you do a phenomenal job on social media.
Well, thank you, Sandra.
Yes, and
I
before you
try.
talk about it, tell everybody how they can follow you. Where can they find you? Because they really should go and see some of your videos, because you do a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you for that. So my tagline on most all social media platforms is that SC real estate chick. That SC real estate chick. I'm on YouTube as my name, Roni Haskell, and my website is that SC real estate chick as well. So
That's
a little
cute. That's
backstory as to
catchy.
what that is. And so there was an agent down in Florida for a while. Don't know if she was in your neck of the woods, Sandra, but she was in Florida. And she was making these little capturing videos, and she had a tagline, something similar to that. It was not that. I tried to trademark my name, but it is not trademarkable. There's actually an agent out in California that has it. But I was like, my feelings would be really hurt if somebody else took my, you know, South Carolina real estate chick. But in truth, this agent down in Florida, the reason I bring her up is because she was making these little videos. Now, you got to scroll back to like 2018, okay?
Okay.
Maybe early 2019 when not everybody was doing videos. We were kind of at the cusp of, well, this agent down in Florida was doing it at a really high level. She was making fun little videos. They were little 60-second and full of information, but entertaining as well. And so a lender that I knew brought to my attention. He said, Roni, you ought to do something like that. There's nobody in our market doing this. And I was like, I don't, at the time, keep in mind, real estate agents didn't used to have to be
Right.
all over social media. Like that was not the majority of our day spent, you know? And so, or it just wasn't as instrumental within our businesses like it is today.
Hmm.
So, I said okay to the idea. I mean, after all, he was going to fund it. He was bringing a videographer, and I said, okay, let me see what I can pull together. It was very, very painful to begin with. I was trying to script it, memorize these little things. I wasn't, what was up here wasn't always flowing out the mouth. If you've ever
Right.
made video, you probably can relate to that. You know, you've got something, but you can't get it out. And as soon as
Yep.
that camera hits you, you're like
You
completely
forgot
forgetting
everything.
the whole thing. And so, those first few years really were quite painful for me behind the camera. I did not find comfort in it. I progress up to today. We're about 8, 9 years into making video content, and it's gotten a lot more smoother. There's still sometimes where sometimes some days I nail it and I get out the information, and you got to be fun and lighthearted. Sometimes we put out videos that are just bloopers of all the things that Ronnie couldn't say, right?
I love
And
that.
so sometimes those are the most watched ones and they're entertaining. But just making literally fun of yourself because you couldn't say the words straight. And so, but I guess I say all of this to say it's been years of creation and building up to a comfort level. Um, but it's consistency. I mean, no matter what you're doing, just do it with a level of consistency.
Hmm.
Again, I mean, I've done things, I've tried to follow some of the TikTok trends. I don't really post a lot on TikTok. It's not my clientele of who I want to be in conversation with. And so I'm not super engaged. I think sometimes my marketing team will take clips of what I'm putting out and they'll make it fun and lighthearted and carry it over to TikTok. But mostly it's Instagram, Facebook. Facebook is my biggest engagement. Instagram, it's nice that all of it flows well together through Meta, but the truth is, I don't do a lot of engagements through Instagram. Most of mine is through Facebook, and I think it's just the demographics that I am looking for. And also, I can put a lot of my stuff. I can feed it over into Facebook groups as well.
Okay.
So gosh, we've got a whole list of Facebook groups where we can take my videos and then post it into those,
Hmm.
moving to Somerville or, Charleston real estate or what all these different Facebook groups are. And so I can be relevant on those Facebook groups as well.
So
They're
you're
not my
getting,
Facebook groups.
right. So you're doing half the work. You're not running the Facebook group, but you're
No,
getting exposure in it from the videos that you're doing for your Facebook group.
yeah.
So it's like the building effect,
That's right. I don't want to run the Facebook group, quite frankly.
right?
Now, one of the biggest groups that is in my area that is widely used by the community and by incoming buyers. A dear friend of mine, I recruited her into the brokerage, and now we have, and she allows me to post all kinds of things onto her Facebook page. But
Hmm.
I truly, if I had the bandwidth, and I knew it when it was coming about as Facebook groups were getting started, and I'm like, I had all these great ideas but again, I was a solo agent, like my bandwidth wasn't such that I could monitor all of these and be consistent. I didn't want to start something I couldn't be consistent with. And
Right,
therefore I didn't start any of them. I just started posting on all of them that other
right.
people were creating. And so yeah, that engagement has been good for the brand. But
Hmm.
it's really all of it is to build the brand. That's what it is. I mean, I love posting about my listings,
Yep.
but it is brand recognition. It's telling people what they deserve in their real estate agent. Here's my promise to you. You deserve somebody that's going to communicate with you in this way. You deserve somebody that's going to highlight your listing in this way. Um, just tell people what they deserve and what they
Hmm.
should expect, and then they're going to call you. And then the challenge is you got to deliver that.
Right. I like what you said about how you're teaching them what they deserve. So your video about a property isn't necessarily just about that property. The video is showing everybody else how you're going to represent their home.
That is correct. That is correct. So um I'll do Facebook Live walkthroughs of properties and I mean I'm trying to lead pool off of it, you know. I mean I want to sell that house. Don't get me wrong.
Right,
That's my money maker.
right,
But I
right.
do want to curate an opportunity for more engagement off of those listed, you know, off of that posting as well. But yeah, I mean that is I want people to already know me and like me and trust me. So when they connect with me, my message is let's talk. Like,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, there's still a place in this world beyond text messages and DMs and such. And
Yep.
so I want them to call me. And so that's the message that I deliver.
Hmm. And so your videos, I mean, you've spoken about just listed, maybe just sold videos. What other kind of videos are you doing to get people to let people know you, get to know you through the video? Are you doing other kinds of videos too, other than just strictly doing walkthroughs of homes?
Most of actually, most of my content, if you get on to that SE real estate chick, is not tied directly to like showcasing a property. Most of it
Okay.
is tied back to either community where I'm highlighting other local businesses, or it's like, these are my top favorite restaurants to visit. Here's the boutiques in town that I like to shop at. I will go to the boutique, and more than likely, I'm probably shopping there anyways, and I already know the owner, but I'll go to the boutique and put the spotlight on it. So I'll interview, we'll make a great video. There's a local boutique here in town that I did a video about her business, and she was like, Roni, there are people that still come in that are following me on social media and are they are here from California. Now I'm in the state of South Carolina, so they're going from coast to coast.
Right.
And they made sure when they came to Charleston that they came to Somerville, which is a little, you know, small commuter town outside of Charleston. But they came to us to shop because of the video you made. And so
That is powerful,
it is
very
putting the
powerful.
spotlight. So I'm bringing her business, she's reciprocating, and she'll send business my way. Like it's just the community. You know, I want to put the spotlight on community members at large.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that kind of stuff that's happening. Because of my design background, it's like, here's the things that you need to know to stage your home, or here's what you need to, these are the things, top 5 things I don't like about a house. Like I'm
Hmm.
going to tell you this when I come in your door, so I might as well go ahead and tell you about it now, you know? And so a lot of that kind of content where I had a seller one time, and I went to go meet with her, and she said, I already know what you're going to say because I watched your video last week.
I love
Like
it.
about that subject, right? So usually I'll use the content that's coming to light in the conversation at that moment, and I'll do a video about that, whatever that relevant is. And sometimes it's very much just about, if you're buying in the state of South Carolina, here's what you need to know. We're a disclosure state, or, you know, what does a CO 100 termite letter look like? Like just bringing some context about, what do I always get asked? Like write
Right.
down the questions that you're always getting asked and make video content about it.
Hmm. Hmm. And that way you're not spending a lot of time researching and planning. You're really just answering the questions that you're already getting asked.
Yeah, it's putting content out there. You know, making others collaborators of it. So if it's tied back to a business, or I do a good bit with like the Chamber of Commerce, you know, making them collaborators on that post. So then their followers and viewers will see it, and they can be engaging as well. Um, Habitat for Humanity is a place that I spend a lot of time and effort and energy pouring into. So you know, if we're doing a project, then I'll highlight it and
Yeah.
then ask them to be a collaborator in that posting as well. So there's a lot of things that you've learned and you heard about it. It's really implementing it. And I'm just going to go back to the phrase of consistency, because
Yeah.
that's what it is. And it's having other people doing the work behind the scenes. I don't touch those videos. I make the video, And sometimes, a lot of times, I don't even know what's being posted for the day. I have a team of people behind me that is supporting that effort.
Hmm.
Um, and I may be out and about in a coffee shop and somebody's like, I saw your video today. And I'm like, oh Lord, well, better go watch and see what I posted. Because I do as much posting as I do, I'm segmenting down to Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings at 8:30. My marketing team gets me Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's it.
Oh, wow.
It's
You've
very
got it down
rare
to a
that
science.
it's you got a time block because I can't let another appointment slide into that unless I get with my marketing team and I'm like, well, this opportunity came up, so can I push you to 10 o'clock? And if they're agreeable to that, then I will make that switch. Protect that time,
Hmm.
film the video, and leave it to them to post. Or if you're posting your own stuff, then time block the next piece to that for the editing and the pushing it out and
Hmm.
scheduling it. Um, don't get away from that because that's why I'm not having to pay for a lot of lead gen. That is my lead
It is your
gen.
lead gen.
Hmm.
Smart, so smart. And do you have a professional videographer that does the recording as well?
So I get asked quite frequently about Braden. So Braden is local and he is a local out he's local talent.
Hmm.
I picked him up because he does a lot of the video content and marketing and efforts and all at my church. In fact, I if I wasn't using him, I'd probably go to the local high school. We have a massive high school, and the guy that does all the video work at the Jumbotron does an amazing job of the content for it. So you got to find like who's the talent in the
Yeah.
community.
Hmm.
And so my Braden is local. He follows me on, he tracks me on Life 360. He's like, I see you're in this neck of the woods. Do you have an extra 5 minutes? I have this idea. Let's stop and film it. I do think that there's value in having local talent. If before I had him, it was it was more raw footage, but it was still
Yeah.
content I was putting out, right? So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, you got to find somebody that, and I say, Braden, you've got one job, and that is to make me look good, you know,
And
make
he
me
does
look
it
my
very
best
well. He does
and
it
make me
really
look.
well.
And he'll stop me like, okay, repeat that sentence because that didn't sound like you, or it didn't sound authentic, or it sounded too Southern. Like, try to tone that down a little bit. He'll stop mid sentence sometimes and say, okay, back up, let's refilm that little section. So make sure you've got somebody, whoever's filming it, knows their direction and what their role is. Some are their ideas, some is my marketing team's ideas, some's my ideas, and so we kind of blend them. But
Hmm.
and some of it's testimonials. We'll pull in some of my clients and have them specifically film a testimonial. We may have Braden
Smart.
show up at the closing table. We may have him show up with business vendors and highlight that business vendor and say, what is it like working with Roni? What is, what is it like working alongside of her? I call it my pool of professionals. Like, put the spotlight. It's easy. If you don't want to be on camera, then don't be on camera. But put the spotlight on other people that are going to speak on your behalf.
Right, right. So smart. And I love what you said about how he will track you down. You're out and about doing your thing, and he'll track you down because you're in a great area to do a quick video. So it's not just the pre-planned twice a week. It's also if he's got a great idea based on where you are, and he can just connect with you kind of sporadically.
He will. Sometimes it's impromptu, and that's okay. I don't mind it. If I'm available, I don't mind it. If I'm not, then I was like, nope, another day, Braden. I got
Yeah,
to
but
protect
that's
my
so
time.
smart.
But yeah, so sometimes it is impromptu, but if we're trying to highlight a specific community, pushing some marketing around that community, and I'm in that neck of the woods, and he sees that and he's available, then he'll jump on that
Hmm.
opportunity.
That's so cool. That's so
Hmm.
cool. So we're kind of getting to the end of our hour here. I wanted to just ask you, what is one thing that you'd like to share with people that, somebody who's trying to break into luxury or expand in luxury, what would be the most, like your best tip for them that you would want to suggest?
Well, I didn't come from as wonderful as my background is, I wasn't raised in an environment that spoke luxury. Let's put it that way, right? I was at the end of a dirt road. hardworking middle class parents. And but I was very aware of who I wanted to be in business with. So as I broke into general brokerage and the word luxury was first introduced to me, and I started segueing and finding opportunities to be in conversation with what I think of as luxury, and so it became kind of, I was, I felt like I was already kind of in that it those were my people. Like I wanted to speak it and live it and dress like it. And so it wasn't hard for me to kind of segue into a luxury market, so to speak.
Mhm.
But before I was selling luxury real estate, I was putting on branding luxury. So you don't have to have the $1 million listing. You can go film, and I've done it many, many times, and I have collaborated with other brokers, agents that had a beautiful property. I said, can I put the spotlight on this property in my social media? And I would go and film in other people's $1 million listings and give them all the credit and where the credit was due. This listing is listed by Sandra. I'm looking for the right buyer,
Mhm.
and so I I broke through because I was speaking to the luxury buyers that I wanted to be in business with.
Mhm.
Um, and I just found the opportunities in my marketing. And if you start speaking the language and start branding it as such, and you're in good conversation with people, I don't have, I'm not a part of a country club. That's not my arena. But I have found the people in my market who are the luxury, and those are my honest to goodness friendship, so to speak, and it's not a stretch for me, but I set my eyes on that goal pretty early on, and I learned what luxury felt like. So find a luxury community, find the trainings. There was a solid year, Sandra. Every training that I did was nothing but luxury. One whole
Wow.
year. If it wasn't luxury, I wasn't sitting in the room. It literally had to be a luxury training, a luxury podcast, a luxury book, a
Wow.
luxury something for one solid year to learn the mentality of what does that luxury client, what service are they looking for?
Mhm.
What does it
Mhm.
feel like to be in that? And I kept leaning into that until you're finally sitting in it and you're on a podcast with Sandra speaking to a group of luxury agents or at the luxury, on a luxury stage in a room of hundreds of people and having that opportunity. So you can push through to it. You don't have to be a natural born. You got to understand what it means to be luxury. And it's not always a price point. It's how you make people feel. If you make them feel good, and coming back to how, you said when I made you feel when I first approached you, if you make somebody feel great, that's the sense of what luxury is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ronnie, this has been amazing. You are just a wealth of knowledge. I think you've definitely inspired a lot of people today, and we really appreciate you being here. We've shared
Uh,
how to contact you. Do you have a phone number that you want to share with everybody in case they want to give you a referral or get in
yeah,
touch with you for something?
absolutely. Let's talk. It's 843-297-1935. That is my
Wonderful.
direct cell phone. Yep,
Awesome. And we've shared your Instagram and all that with them and Facebook. So hopefully you'll get connected with a few people. And
I would
this
love
for
it.
sure has been educational and helpful. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And go
I
out
love
and
it.
make it a great day, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye, guys.
Bye.